How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the UKnowAdamTsang podcast, where you get to know a little bit more about people, passions, and all things business. Today, super excited about someone that I actually interviewed before. It's a terrible thing that we weren't able to get any video from that. But super excited to have him back on the show. Mr. Ryder Rouse, welcome to the podcast.
What's up, dude? Glad to be here, man. You're crushing it. I've been loving the podcast. And maybe this one's going to have video. So
yeah, this one's going to be the one. Ryder, for those that don't know, and I don't know how they wouldn't know, just because you've been putting out so much content, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm 24. I'm from Waycross. I went to school here in Statesboro at Georgia Southern. Got my 4-year in finance. Worked here actually under the top broker here in town, Mr. Paul Newman.
Shout out, Paul.
Yeah. That's kind of where I learned the real estate realm. I was kind of around it. And I love Statesboro. I love being here. And it has a good place in my heart. Learned a lot. And it's kind of.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I remember way back when I first met you. I met you at the gym, and man, you were just like lifting and going at it. And one thing that really stuck out to me, and I don't remember if you remember this conversation. This was like it must have been early morning when we were both at the gym. You were working on this pre-workout. You're like, I'm creating this pre-workout. I'm going to, create this formula, and we're going to kind of like push it. And, you gave me kind of like this game plan. Yeah. And I think that was something that, stood out to me that was so unique. It's like, I meet a lot of college students because we're in Statesboro. And that just always stood out to me as someone that was so forward-thinking. And, the fact of the matter is that you actually took a step towards that direction to go into the fitness realm. So if you could share a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I think it's all trial and error. Like, I'm always thinking of ideas. I'm pretty creative with them. And I've always wanted to start some type of business or something like that. Something to kind of stand out and be different.
Yeah.
So when COVID happened, I started, we actually rented out a bunch of equipment.
I remember this.
Yeah, so we had like a full-on gym at my house in Burkhalter here in Statesboro. And that's kind of when I started creating the content and my mind started spinning. It wasn't getting a lot of views, but I started becoming addicted to making content there. And then over time, I saw the growth, and then it kind of took off.
Were you making content before that? Before kind of like COVID happened?
No, not really. It was just like normal. My Instagram was like your normal kind of college kid pictures, going out, just a lifestyle-based Instagram. And then COVID happened, and we were just sitting around. We were, we had nothing to do but work out.
Yeah.
So that's where it kind of started creating.
I remember those videos because the one that really stood out to me was I think there was one where you were like pushing a car.
Yeah.
And that one just like, caught me by surprise. I was like, oh man, like this guy's like super into it. But I mean, so I guess if COVID didn't happen, I mean, you might have never even got on this like route of like creating content. So, every cloud, I guess, has a silver lining, huh?
Yeah. And me and my roommates still talk. We're best friends still to this day. And we're like, that was the best 3 months of our life. Like,
really?
Because it was just like a group of friends, like your best guys around you. No worries in the world. We're just working out, eating, and making content. And it was just so much fun, man. It was different. COVID had a lot of negative impacts in the world, but it also had a lot of positive impacts. Where in that time where everybody was home, people started creating more because people were watching more content because they were stuck at home.
Yep.
So it was kind of a good way to take advantage of social media at the time.
Do you remember any videos that kind of like, I guess, in terms of popping off? Did it kind of like, just kind of like catch on fire and kind of like go up there? Or?
Yeah, I can't remember like a specific video, but I think it was more of the consistency.
Okay.
I was uploading every day, and I remember like not getting a ton of likes at all, like 50 likes a post. And then it just started like, I think people started picking up on it more. And then it kind of started snowballing a little bit, but I think it's consistency more than anything.
What was the gym called? Was it called The Jungle?
The jungle. There it is. Yes.
So,
dude, we had a full-on gym out there, man. We had a barbell rack. We had dumbbells. I rented I called this place in Statesboro, and it was like their last set of equipment. So I paid them like weekly, and there was no gyms open. So We
You had a
found
bunch of people coming to the jungle back in the
the jungle. Yes. Yeah.
So let's move into kind of like what you did with that. So, you started posting consistently. I guess at some point in here you graduated,
hmm
and then kind of like what was next on the radar, right? Like,
Yeah.
what were you going to do moving
Yeah.
forward?
So obviously, even though my Instagram grew, I still didn't have, I couldn't go fitness full time or social media full time. So I worked here at States for Real Estate for 2 years, I believe, under Paul Newman.
Okay.
And then when I graduated, I had a medical sales position where I was going to go. And Paul, he had a big influence on me. He was like, man, you know that you want to be your own boss. And I still did the medical sales route. I think I lasted 6 weeks. I did it in Macon, Georgia. And it was terrible.
Why didn't it work for you?
So it's a grind. I love grinding at something, but I don't like grinding at something that I do not like. So I think it's very hard if you're not passionate about what you do to really stick with it and give your 100%. So I was just kind of running through the motions day by day. It was like 5:30 a.m. to usually about 7 p.m. at night, where I was just in operating rooms. It was cold, and it just wasn't me. My schedule was thrown off. And it didn't fit me. So on like week 6, I'd call my boss and said, hey, this isn't working out. And I'm quitting. So it was a great decision. A lot of people thought I was dumb for quitting such a good career, but I knew that I couldn't do that forever. So I made a drastic change, and I quit on the 6th week, I believe. So I had to put in 1 more month. So in that month span, I was kind of sitting around, and I actually called, Clay Thomas, who is he owns part of Crossway, and I said, hey man, I'm thinking about to start working on my real estate license. Could I come work for you if I do? And he was like, yeah man, I'd love to have you. So in that month span, I worked on my real estate license and got that, and that's kind of
so during that period of time, how did the guy at Crossway know you? Like, is that someone that you were familiar with from before? Like, what's the story there?
Yeah. So I knew him before, not so good, but I knew him, and he knew me. And my papa is actually an associate broker at that company.
Understood.
So that gave me a lot of help, kind of transitioning into a spot there.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yep.
After this kind of like happened, you there was a tough decision to make. Maybe it wasn't so tough because you were just like, hey, I'm through with it.
Yeah.
How did you know? Like, what in your heart, or what did you feel in that moment that was like, hey, I can't do this anymore?
Yes. So like I said, I was around Paul, and then my family has kind of had this entrepreneur mindset too. My dad, he doesn't have a place to be 9 to 5. He's kind of his own boss as well. And then I saw Paul, where he's like, he set himself up so good to where he had his real estate base, and then he have different avenues to where if he wanted to go to the lake in the middle of the week, he does that. So
he does.
He does. So I saw that, and I knew that I could do that, and I had the self-drive to kind of take that on. So I got into real estate, and I love it. I love every day. I love waking up, and I think that's very important for whatever you do, to be passionate about it.
That's awesome. So in between this, there was actually another potential career path that you could have taken, and that was kind of like in this fitness realm, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that, because I think that for a long period of time, I knew you as like the fitness guy. You were actually coaching people. I think you might have like even flown out to various different gyms. Like you were flying all over the place, just getting that pump in at various different places. So what happened there? Kind of like walk me through. I guess like, at what point in time was that?
Yeah, so I started coaching. I think
Was this after the medical?
Yeah, this was after the medical. So I kind of took on coaching as well as I was building my Instagram up and TikTok. I think I had up to like 30 clients at one time.
Wow.
20 or 30. And I wasn't 100% passionate about coaching people as much as I am about just working out in general and kind of motivating people. So I still strive to grow my social medias because I love inspiring people. And you never know who looks up to you. So I love just motivating people, to better themselves, work out, stuff like that. But I'm not huge on, I like it, but I don't love the coaching.
Got you. Understood.
Yep. So I'm still striving to grow my Instagram, grow my social medias, in my brand.
Yeah.
As far as that goes.
You know what's interesting about that is I keep hearing this. It's almost like you're constantly trying to understand why you're making the decisions that you're making, right? So
Mhm.
you're looking back at, like, you're in this job, this medical job, and you're like, well,
Yeah.
my life sucks right now, so I need to make a
Yes.
change. And then you're
Yes.
doing that. You build up a coaching business of like having 30 clients at once, and you're like, honestly, like, this is not what I'm passionate about, even though
Yeah.
I love fitness. Fitness is a huge part of my life.
Yeah.
But then you identify real estate as, hey, this is the one, and you're going
Yes.
full force into it, which I
Yes.
think is phenomenal.
Mhm.
Let's speak a little bit about kind of like what you did on the fitness journey, right? So
Yep.
you obviously kind of like started out, and you had, I guess, that base of the jungle in Statesboro, Georgia. And then I guess you started posting like more and more content in terms of you're like trying to coach people, teach people like certain sets, so forth and so on. Was that kind of like what blew that up, or?
Yeah. And I'm actually still traveling a little bit. So I'm actually going to Houston this week to hang out with some fitness buddies out there. So I'm still striving to kind of grow that as well,
Sure.
because that's kind of what I was known for
Sure.
on my Instagram. So it's kind of, I'm balancing fitness and real estate at the same time on the social medias, which I think people like that. When I first started posting real estate, I wasn't getting as much love on my Instagram, but I think the people who follow me know me for who I am and kind of appreciate that side of things too, instead of just fitness.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool how I kind of diversified it.
Yeah, I think that's huge, right? Because like, an audience is an audience,
Yeah.
regardless of kind of like, where they're at or what they do.
Yeah.
Building that audience is kind of like the first step.
Mm-hmm.
So, one thing that I mentioned earlier, before we came onto the podcast, was this, drive of yours to kind of like create content.
Yeah.
And that has kind of, interestingly enough, although fitness and real estate, you wouldn't think that there is any correlation, there's this basically movement that you took of creating content on fitness side, and you started creating content for real estate. And what has that done for you?
So when I came into real estate, I knew that I had to do something to stand out. So my papa, for example, he's an older guy in town that doesn't make content at all because he's so well known. And these other agents are already well known as well from putting in years of work. So I knew when I came in, I had to, make myself different. And I love talking to the camera. I love creating content. It's one of my passions, and I know how powerful it can be. So I kind of did my own thing. I started making content, and I did a trial of error of things. I started doing the property tours. I saw that grew, and I enjoyed it. So I kind of set a goal where I was going to do one a week where I'm talking on the camera, because nobody was doing it. So
in the area that you're at, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So I think people really enjoyed that side of things because people love watching people talk.
Yeah.
As much as people do not like to be on camera, people love to see you talk.
Yeah.
So video marketing is kind of my thing, and that's kind of the direction I'm going to build my personal brand within real estate.
Did you get any pushback from kind of like the agency when you said, did you have to take them the content and say, hey, look, like this is what we're going to put out, or what?
No, so they loved it. They loved the idea. You kind of have to be careful with what you say with the guidelines of social media with real estate.
Sure.
But I think I'm going in a route to where I'm giving the agent credit for who I'm doing it for. So they get exposure for their listing and their name, and I'm getting exposure for my face in the video as well. So
Which
it benefits
is huge.
both parties.
Which is huge.
Yes.
Somebody that maybe is in the real estate industry right now, what kind of advice would you give them in terms of like what they need to do? Because obviously, in video, we all know works, right? Video is driving everything these days.
Yeah.
Like if you look at kind of like your behavior on a phone, a video is where it's at.
Yep.
So obviously, I guess like, what would you advise a real estate agent that's looking to break out or stand out in the market?
Yeah, I think social media is a huge thing, but I think meeting people in person is a huge thing as well. Whether that be events, even parties, stuff like that, where you can meet people. The more people that you meet, the more successful I think you will be. And money's a part too. So the more people that you meet, money is in people's pockets. So, the more people that you meet, the more money that I think you will accumulate.
Correct.
So I think is meet as many people as you can, and that's going to be important while building your network.
So obviously you've built this network of fitness people that you know.
Yeah.
You've also built this network of kind of like real estate agents. How do people go about building their network? Do you have any, tips and tricks that maybe you utilize when you're first meeting someone?
Yeah. Well, I love talking to people. So anywhere I go, I try to meet them, compliment them, anything that I can do. And I've read this and watched this a lot. When you're in real estate or anything, you want to somehow tell that person that you're in real estate. I mean, when people think of me, I want them to think real estate. Or when they think they're listing their house, I want them to think of me. So on social media, I think consistency is everything. You want people to think of you when you're constantly, when people's constantly seeing you on social media, they're constantly thinking of you.
That's right.
So consistency, and then consistency with meeting people in person.
And I think that that's huge because, the content that you put out, right? Yeah. You're posting it, you're getting that out into the world. Regardless of if you're meeting people or not, that content is in front of people's eyes, right?
Exactly.
And so that almost creates a pathway for people to come back to you. And when they think, listing, oh man, who is that guy, that big buff guy in front of the house that was like talking about the house or whatever it is, and they come to you.
Exactly.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yep. And I think with real estate, I think being in the office is super important. Hearing the conversations from the older people in the office. I know I'm in the office all day, pretty much every day. And when I'm not in the office, I don't see as much success, I feel like.
Really?
I think being around the environment, hearing the new things that are coming up, the conversations, stuff like that, will really help you as well.
Yeah. So, in terms of, a lot of people that are maybe listening to this podcast, in their minds, they are kind of like going through this transitionary period of, I don't know what it is that I want to do.
Yeah.
And obviously, luckily, I think you are probably one of the rare ones that have been able to find it so quickly.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're 24 and you already know that this is the path that I want to take, at least for right now. How are you able to do that at such a quick pace?
Well, I went through a series of trial and error too. When I know my final year of college, I was stressing out so much. I had this State Farm thing. I was working on my insurance license. Then I really didn't want to do that, so I got in the medical thing. And I was on LinkedIn, and I was like, man, there's so many jobs. It can be overwhelming. So I think, and Gary Vee, we're big on Gary Vee, he says, try as many things as possible. So I think the trial and error process really helps you kind of narrow things down. Just keep trying, man. We're so young right now, even at 24, if I decided to go another route and start building that, then I have time. We have so much time. And I think people stress out too much from the outside perspective. So I think you should focus on yourself, try things, and then you're going to slowly start to figure it out. But your 20s, man, we have so much time.
That's right.
Try things.
Yeah, I think that what you said there was huge in the try. Because when you were trying, you were not thinking about doing something, but rather you went out and did it.
Yeah.
And if it didn't serve you, then you would change.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, I think, I think people call it analysis paralysis,
Yes.
where they're thinking in their mind,
Yes.
oh my God, what about this? What about that? And they end up not making a decision to go any direction, and they're stuck right there where they are.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So I think that, your kind of strategy behind it is the best way to go.
Yeah.
Tell me about in your mind, how fitness and real estate relate to each other.
Yeah. So fitness, both require a ton of hard work and dedication. Whatever you put in is what you're going to get out. So I think they correlate a lot with that. And fitness is kind of it matters to my health, but it also is my mindset too. So when I work out, I'm ready to attack the day. I'm ready to, find the deals, and I'm ready to get after it. So,
what's the typical day for Ryder? Let's kind of go through that.
Yep. So I wake up about 6:30. I don't have a crazy meditation morning routine type thing, but I wake up early, take a shower.
What time do you wake?
6 or 6:30.
Okay.
Yep. So then wake up, take a shower, eat, and then I try to be at the office around 8:30, 8 o'clock, something like that. And I like to do a to-do list when I get to the office. So the most important stuff, I have content stuff wrote down that I need to do for the day. And between the hours of 8 to 12, I'm hammering the most important stuff because that's when I'm most productive.
Okay.
And then real estate's kind of the second half of the day, maybe showings, listing appointments, stuff like that. And then 5, I usually hit the gym and then make my fitness content at that time.
Got you.
So I kind of have a girl who helps me with my real estate content, and then I have a guy at the gym in the evenings where we make fitness content. So I have a good system going.
How do you find those people?
So both of them are my friends. So I'd reached out. She's a local photographer in town. She doesn't do video stuff, but I was like, hey, I can kind of show you what I want to do if you can help me. And she was a fast-paced learner, and she helps me come up with ideas as well. So
That's
it
amazing.
works really good. It's kind of hard to find people like that in a small town.
Yep.
You don't have a lot of, creative talent in the space. And then the other guy, he's like an 18-year-old, and he helps me with fitness ideas, coming up with content, because it can get tough. You can get stuck with creating content. It becomes repetitive at some points.
Tell me about Waycross, like what about the town, so we can get an idea of like where you're. Where you said it's hard to find creatives in that area.
Yeah. So Waycross is pretty much a Statesboro without the college.
Wow.
It's a smaller town, but I also serve. I can sell anywhere in Georgia, but I like to stick kind of to the south. So I want to expand. Maybe I can start selling in St. Simon's, that area. But Waycross is kind of it was where I was born, so my network there was already solid, and then I kind of built upon that. And I think even in a small town, you can make something happen.
That's right.
You can build a name for yourself anywhere.
I mean, I've been doing that, for the past 6-7 years that I've been in Statesboro.
Yeah.
I think that
You did a great job with it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Tell me about, you right now you're doing kind of like content for, the showings, right? You're walking through like, the different spaces, kind of showcasing them. Do you think that there is a demand for that, for these kind of like larger homes on St. Simon's? When are you going to lock one of those down?
Yeah, so I've actually been talking to one of the guys over there, one of the agents, and I've actually got the approval to do some of his listings and some of his Airbnbs. So I want to start doing stuff like that, even though I'm not primarily in that area, to try to build my name up as well over there. So I'm just trying to expand as much as I can. I'm down to make the drive. I do all these property tours for free because they're giving me exposure, and I really don't care about the money as much as getting my name out there.
So if somebody that's listening, wants to, get in contact with you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah. Just my email, ryder@crossleyrealty.com. And then my social medias are just Ryder Rouse on everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I think the content is huge. It gives people a different perception of the listing, of the properties. So I think it's very important.
Yeah. What do you think is your biggest challenge that you face moving forward?
Yeah, my biggest challenge is just, I think the growth. I think it takes time, and I want things now. So I know in the back of my mind, I think patience is super important. And I'm one of those guys that want to have it now. I'm addicted to, the growth. So it's one of those things that takes time, but you can see the growth, and it excites me.
That's huge, man.
Yeah.
Ryder, well, I want to thank you so much for coming to the show.
Yeah.
I think that, when I think back to, the few years ago that I first met you, and, being able to identify that drive within someone and being able to see kind of like where that's taking you, I can only imagine where your drive is going to take you into the future. So I'm so excited to see that.
That means a lot, man. Yeah. I looked at you. I looked at Paul, a couple more guys here in Statesboro while I was going to school here that really motivated me to kind of create my own thing. And I saw how you guys kind of built everything, so it really motivated me. You got a good thing going, man. Nobody's doing what you're doing, where you're connecting with business owners, different people within the community, and it's powerful, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, welcome to the show.
Well,
thanks for being on the show.
I appreciate it, bro.
Awesome.
Yep.